Welcome back to the Work of Wellbeing podcast. I'm Amy Green, your host from The Wellness Strategy, and we're here to talk about all things personal and professional wellbeing. This podcast is designed to help you become curious and consider your everyday wellbeing strategies, what you do for your own wellness, and how you can start to transform your life both in and out of the workplace. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, maybe grab a notepad, a journal, and get ready to feel really enlightened about what wellbeing used to be, what it is now, and where you can take your own wellness strategy. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Work of Wellbeing podcast. I'm Amy, your host. It's 2025. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. 2024 felt like this wild blur, and there were moments that had huge amounts of highs in them, and then there were moments of lows energetically, productivity-wise, motivation. And I think that when I look back on last year, I'm really reminded of how we have these ebbs and flows and these ups and downs. And I've taken a good break. I've taken a couple of weeks to pause and reflect, to spend time with family, to reassess what matters to me. And there are 3 big lessons from 2024 that I'm going to carry into 2025. And I want to share them with you. I want to unpack them for you. I want to make sure that you can apply these to your life, whether it's personally and professionally, either or. And I want to make sure you have some strategy behind this. 2025 for us is going to be the year of strategy. We really want to focus on the doing aspects of wellbeing and culture and creating schools that are great places to work. But I also have strategy as one of my key words for 2025. One of my words is definitely about surrender and letting things go, but my other one is also strategy, which now I've said them at the same time. They are very opposite on the scale, aren't they, of how we might live or act. One is about giving away and surrendering, and the other is about taking control with strategy. So lesson number 1 from last year that I'm taking into 2025, this whole idea of micro rests and micro breaks. I don't know if you've come across this or if you've heard me talk about it, but there is research that says we are far better off as people to take small breaks throughout the day or week. So, 2, 3, 10-minute breaks during our day rather than running right to the end of our workday and then doing the home things and crashing and burning at 8:30, 9 o'clock when we think, oh, finally I get a minute to myself, or, oh, thank goodness I actually can relax now, I'm going to go to bed. This idea of continuous going, this addiction to busyness that we have and not being able to put our to-do list down for a minute or put ourselves on our to-do list has just become so detrimental to our well-being and health because it puts us in a space of always doing something. Now, as I said, I'm all about strategy, but strategy definitely involves pausing. So one of my things that I'm focusing on this year is building in more micro breaks. A micro break can look like lots of different things, but I like to align them to the different types of rest. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, creative, social, being able to tap into the different areas that require us to use energy and then asking, well, what do I need to then rest with? So if I'm doing lots of work and it requires lots of mental energy, then I might need to do something physical where I go and use my physical body so I can rest that mental part of me. Or maybe I'm doing something quite physical, like I've had a big morning at the gym or I've gone for a run, and then I might come home and actually sit down and read a book because I need to rest my physical body. So that's something that I am prioritizing in 2025, paying attention to the different aspects of energy that I'm using and then what I need to be able to do to rest and recuperate throughout the day, not waiting until the end of the day or the week or Sunday afternoon where I think, 2 hours of binge watching my favorite TV show is going to make up for the intense week that I have had. It just doesn't work like that. Now, I've played with that this year on and off. I've been thinking about and doing different things that allow me to be able to have rest during the day. But one thing I struggle with is being able to move away from this rigid routine of my exercise in the morning, working all day, doing not much in the afternoon. And what I've really noticed is that on days where I follow that normal 9 to 5 routine, I am so exhausted by the end of it because I have been using my cognitive capacity at its fullest for so many hours. The difference is when I take these small breaks throughout the day, I actually find I'm able to get more done in a focused period of time, even in the afternoon, compared to just absolutely not being able to get a sentence together after 5 p.m., which some days does happen. So that's my lesson number one. And the first thing I'm going to be doing in 2025 that I think is going to make a huge difference to how I feel overall. So prioritizing micro breaks and micro rests throughout the day, whether it's 2 or to 10 minutes. Lesson number 2 from 2024. This one, I think it's one that it's not new to me at all. It's something that I know really does benefit my day and how I feel. But towards the end of 2024, probably, term 4 really didn't do this well, and I need to bring it back. And that's having a good morning routine and a good evening routine. Now, if I'm really honest, the one thing that got in the way of this was social media and being on my phone. I found the end of last year quite tiring. I had a quick look in my calendar at the start of December because I had a week at home the start of December, and it was my first week at home in 20 weeks. It is no wonder I felt like I couldn't do anything. But what that meant was, because I'd been so stretched in term 4, because I was that little bit more tired than usual, I found getting up and getting going in the morning a little bit more challenging, and then winding down of an evening. And I developed this really bad habit of just being on my phone, of just scrolling on my phone, watching silly videos on TikTok or Instagram, funny things. My algorithm's pretty good. It's usually provides me with things like funny cat videos, funny education and teacher videos, and then I'm completely obsessed with op shopping and being able to recreate clothing items out of recycled materials and things like that. And so I get a few sewing videos as well. So for me, it works. It's not something that is probably really harmful to me. There's certainly no crime podcasts or anything like that I'm consuming. It's quite fun and it's quite light. But even though I have my app set to 5-minute timers, by the time I jump through all 4, that's 20 minutes I've spent on my phone in the morning and of an evening. And I know it's just not, well, we know, right, because of the science now and the research into this, it's not the best thing. So I did something crazy over the break. I actually deleted social media apps for a few weeks and didn't have them on my phone, which meant the only way I could access them was to get onto my laptop. But because I was having a work break, I wasn't really on my laptop either. And this opened up kind of this new opportunity to think, okay, well, if I'm not going to play on my phone for 20 minutes, what am I going to do? Am I going to read? Am I going to do some drawing? Maybe I'm just going to sit outside in nature. So this has kind of become part of me rebuilding that morning and evening routine. I know what works for me really well in the morning is giving myself some time to do, 10 minutes of breath work to check in with myself in the day, to do some journaling, to go outside, get sunlight on my face, to move my body, and to look at my schedule and see what I've got on for the day, and then go and do some hardcore exercise. That is how I best operate. But because I was wasting 20 or 30 minutes on my phone, I stopped actually meditating and I stopped journaling. And I think that really impacted me. Then of an evening when I'm quite tired, it's so easy for us just to pick up our phone and start scrolling through. And again, the 5-minute timer is on, but by the time I jump around a few times, 20, 30 minutes can be gone. And so even though I'm only on Instagram for 5 minutes, I might do that twice. And I just was overriding the thing I'd put in place actually to help with that habit that I developed. And so of an evening, I know I need to do something creative that actually really brings me down. It could be reading a novel, it could be drawing or painting. I've actually set up a new painting studio in our garage. Now, I'm not good at these things, but it's really good for my mind. And that's the difference. It's not about being good at everything or being able to, sell something or being able to do something for a purpose. Sometimes the purpose is just to do it because we benefit emotionally, we benefit energetically, we benefit mindfully. We have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with what that looks like for us, and knowing that how we start and end our day really do propel us either into the day we're having or the day that's going to follow. Now, I know on days when I do this well, I'm energetically calmer, I'm more grounded, I think more clearly. And so for me, that has to be something that I rebuild in 2025 because I really let that go and I'm actually not that proud of it. The third thing that I am going to learn or reflect on from 2024 and bring into 2025 is this whole idea of being able to develop better working routines. Now, I am someone that is quite productive when I want to be, but I also can procrastinate. And I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive into deep work and the best way to set up our weeks and our calendars and what that looks like. And I tried time blocking last year, but I am also very open to untime blocking my time blocks. So I will move things around, I will delete things, I will replace something with something else, or I'll simply just won't do it. And I end up with all these red things in my to-do list. And I'm quite comfortable with that, which is probably a little bit of a challenge in itself because the red doesn't create any urgency in me. I'm just like, oh, I'll just change the due date. Doesn't matter. So what I'm going to try this year is getting better at working rhythms and working routines. So what is it that I want to do on Mondays to make sure that my week is set up, that I'm ticking off some tasks? When do I really want to be doing delivery so that I can not only give you what you need, but so I can show up in a way that is really powerful and impactful for me? When do I want to be looking at different things around study? I'm quite addicted to learning. So, I'm doing some different studies around organizational psychology. I then, of course, have different aspects around business growth and what that looks like and meeting with my team. And so when do I want to be doing all of these things? And to develop a really clear workflow, rhythm, and routine and habits around how I plan my day. Now, when I was teaching, I used to be so good at this. I used to be so good at being able to identify what I needed to do when and develop that routine and habit because it creates automaticity for us in our brain, which means when we know on a Tuesday we don't have a meeting, but that's the time we've set aside to plan our English resources and get everything ready for the following week, we just do it. We don't actually sit there and go, oh, what do I feel like doing? What do I want to do today? How do I go about that? What should I do on my to-do list? When I was teaching, I developed all of these routines and habits, which meant as soon as Tuesday afternoon came around, I just got on with the English stuff. It wasn't a choice. And I need to bring some of that back into my life. Now, alongside this, which I didn't do when I was teaching, if you've heard my story of chronic stress, I am building in rest. I am building in the micro rests that I talked about in lesson 1 into the routines and habits, which I think has required me to be really honest with how I work. I know, for example, if I do a full day of delivery and presenting, I'm really not functioning that well the next day. So I shouldn't, where possible, be doing back-to-backs or thinking I'm going to be able to show up and do a really great presentation 2 days in a row. Now, the exception of this is PD week because that is just something in a school we can't control and I can't control. So what I'm doing in those weeks where I do back-to-back PD is making sure, I'm kind of calling it my Taylor Swift moment, is delivery is my number one. And then I'm just going to go home, get into bed, or go to the hotel and get into bed and completely rest and restore so that I can get up and do it again and let some of the other things go that I know I would normally need in my morning routine or evening routine. It might be movement or meditation because rest really becomes key. So decompressing so I can keep going. And this is about knowing what can you do day after day and what can't you do. And when you are stretched and at capacity because of other things that are happening in your life, how do you maybe let some other things go to build in what you need to maintain and sustain that workflow? So there are my 3 big things for 2025 based on lessons of 2024. Building in micro rests, coming back to morning and evening routines that support and nourish me, and then also looking at workflow and building better habits and routines there too. They are personal, but they definitely impact my professional life. And you may think, they work for me, or they may not work for you. That's totally fine. But before you get into the business of this year, before you get into, the hustle and the to-do lists and not being able to breathe, I want you to stop. I want you to ask yourself, where were my stresses last year? Where were my pain points? Where did I actually think, I don't want to be doing this? And what can you learn and start to implement this year so it's a little bit different? Because my lessons, they come from my pain points. They come from my struggles. They come from my stresses. They come from me going, I just don't like this part of me right now. I want to do it differently. And I think that's where we can learn best. That is actually how we can start to make change in our lives personally and professionally. So I'm going to leave you with those 3 things. But if you have 3 things, or maybe 1 or 2 or 10, I'd love to hear about it. All right. Have a great evening, night, morning, day, whatever time it is for you. And I'll see you somewhere soon. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really do hope you have enjoyed it. The information discussed today was just that, information only. It's not specific advice. If you take action following something you heard today, it's important to make sure that you get professional advice about your unique situation before you proceed, whether that advice be legal, financial, accounting, medical, or otherwise. please reach out to me if you have any questions, or if there's anything else I can do to support your own wellbeing and wellness journey, whether it's another topic you'd like me to discuss, or whether it's support in your school, workplace, or individually. And if you do know someone who might benefit from listening to this, please remember to tell them about it, share the episode with them, or suggest my Instagram, my website, or LinkedIn, where they can find out more about me and what I do. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.